former COO, CPO at Bluestone Lane, amazing positions throughout other companies like Sweet Green and Reef, co-founder of Lead, we'll talk about that, an organization that invests in emerging restaurant leaders, Amy Hom! How you doing?
I'm going to put that on my recorder in the morning when I wake up, so.
Just call me. I'll do it every day. Just call me.
You're booked.
Tube socks, boy, about to pop the lunchbox. Tube socks, boy, about to
Amy,
pop the
first question. It seems like whenever I need to connect with someone, I just call you and somehow you know them like 1 degree removed. You have the most incredible ability to connect with people. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how we met too at some point. Like weave that story in because I don't remember how we met.
Well, we met through connecting with a bunch of other people, right? So the restaurant hospitality space is small but big. And I think what happened during post-COVID was we all became a lot closer because before it was competition and who was, beating sales, all that. Now it was how do we figure this out together? And there's so many things ever changing from the laws that are changing, break laws, fees, just all of the supply chain issues, all these things. So we're all banding together, and I sit on the Fast Casual Industry Council, and we're trying to make each other successful. And so it's a really good space to be in. And I love, all the people in this space. So, and you bring great energy, and the people that, I surround myself with do as well. And, it's super fun. I don't remember meeting you though, specifically, to be honest. I have to think about that.
Yeah, I have no idea how we met, but I love those stories. I feel like we've known each other forever, but it's been only 2 years and it's been amazing. Our friendship is one of my favorite.
Me too.
Don't tell Jeff that.
I won't. He does. As long as we him, he's fine.
As long as we mention him in the same breath, he gives us a pass. But not a big pass. Just a little bit of wiggle room, if you will.
Yes.
You've had 20 years of restaurant and tech experience, at California Pizza Kitchen, Wolfgang Puck, Red Robin, Sweet Green, Bluestone, like so many amazing brands. How's that journey been? As you look back, it tells an amazing story that you just, build great brands and, great culture at these great, amazing brands. But did you always know this was going to be the journey as you look back?
No, I think it chose me as much as I chose it. I was not getting into the depths of it, but adopted out. And this woman gave me 50 cents and said, you need to go get a job. And the last place of the mall was a restaurant. And it was most of the people listening probably have heard of Houlihan's, Gilbert Robinson back in the day. And, that was a day when you had those invoice ledgers and you paid bills that were like on these large sheets. And I just kept asking questions. And that's one of the things we talk about in Lead is be inquisitive and don't sit around and just expect people to teach you. Own your development. So it's one of those things that I really focused on. And, after 4 years there, they were unfortunately claiming bankruptcy again. And so I headed off to the world of CPK, and I was there, about 10 years. And, I had extraordinary leaders along my career, and I wouldn't be where I am without them. From first hire, which was Sarah Grover at CPK, she was a host, ended up running marketing, and now she was running marketing for SpaceX, all the way to, Karen as of recent. So and I stay in touch with these folks. I am a connector. I care about people and what happens to them, but I also reach out to them for a lot of advice along the way. They're my teachers in life because they've had a lot more experience.
That's amazing. And you really are a cultivator of incredible relationships. And I think everyone who knows you knows that. You've done pure tech like Reef. You've done, let's say, California Pizza Kitchen, which is hospitality. You've done the intersection of the two, like Sweet Green. If you had to pick between the 3 different segments, which one would you pick?
That's a tough question. I don't think I have a 1, 2, or 3. I think I love them all, which sounds like a generic answer, but you're learning stuff as you're going, no matter what. It's Sweet Green and CPK and some of these other ones, you're learning platforms that support your business. Then you're on the flip side and you're learning about the engine that actually supports the business. And so they all collide together, and they all have extraordinary leaders like yourself leading them. So we all love to reach out and learn what everybody's doing in the tech space and, bring it into the business if it makes sense. But there's so much out there right now. Everyone's competing. And so now it's very time consuming, which I've talked about before, about which platforms you use. And it does come down to the leadership and the follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, most recently you co-founded Lead, an organization that invests in young emerging leaders.
Yes.
Not just women.
Not just women, it's for everyone.
Everyone.
But there's a gap in the industry right now. It's been growing, and the more and more folks I talk to in the business agree that with tighter systems, tighter labor, restaurants have very small margins, as we know. Shoot, when I started in the restaurant industry, I think it was 3 cents off a dollar. Now it's even less that they make, if any. And due to that issue and just all these compressions coming into the business, we see less and less development in the restaurant space and leadership and management. And they don't know where to go for it. A lot of us are very, very lucky that we get to attend a lot of conferences, but those conferences are thousands of dollars. A lot of times these GMs and managers can't afford it. They're paycheck to paycheck, but also they have leaders that are also very busy. So we are just taking a little bit of a road tour with Lead. There's about 20 of us. I kind of lead it, and Karen helps, Robin Robeson helps. We just had 2 more joiners, Dan Affinson from First Watch. We had a couple C-suite. Then we also have these a large group of emerging leaders themselves, but are rock stars like Nancy Zimmerman from down in Texas, and we've got Kimberly Bullinger, just all these different chains, and also tech spaces that are sitting on council. And so they bring up the topics that they see in their own restaurants that need help. We talk about the fact that they get so busy that they don't have time to sit down and do development planning with their teams, or their leaders can't. And most of them are there's a lot more mom and pops, as you know, Nabil, in this space. So they also may not be equipped to have the tools to do so. So we put together something, it's a nonprofit. It is $30 to go. We have Denver coming up in a week on March 7th, week and a half. And we got Marilyn Sherman, who is a Hall of Fame speaker and a complete badass. I saw her Women's Food Service Forum years ago when I was an emerging leader. I'm still an emerging leader. And then we've got Jamie Benson and Karen doing financial acumen, because one of the things to get promoted, and a lot of folks don't take the time to do this, they don't learn their financials the way that they should to run a business. And so they'll learn the culture piece, they'll learn how to get, food costs down, all these little things, but they forget the inputs or don't learn the inputs that actually make the outputs of the P&L. So we want everybody to be successful, so we do one night only. We bring a lot of C-suite in, and then, we cap it at 100 folks, emerging leaders, and, it's a mix so that you can, if you are an emerging leader, you're a manager, you can get access and hang out with Nabil, and hang out with Karen, and hang out with Robin, and some of these C-suites, and just hang out, but at the same time, take some takeaways with you that will help you in your career. So the team this year voted on the 2 biggest issues in the field with development. One is leadership, and the second is financial acumen, and that's what we're zoning in on. So we built all those materials out. It's exciting.
When you see a young leader, what is one attribute you see before they're ready, before they look the part, act the part, talk the part? What is one behavior you see you're like, oh, let's help them out?
This is something I share with young leaders. I was touring with our Red Robin CEO, Steve Carley. I don't know if you met him. He's a total badass genius. And he had turned around to Pollo Loco, and he and I were in the car one day, and I said, why is it that some people get promoted and some people don't? What do you see? And I 100% align with him, and that is taking feedback. And you're in that position too, Nabil, but if you're a leader and if somebody tries to give you feedback and you just take it and you roll it with it, you roll it off your back and you're nonchalant with it and you blow it off, well, somebody just gave you their time and their gift. And if you don't ask for it from other leaders, and especially from those that report into you, you're missing out as well. And you want to have that healthy balance of it. Of course, you can't take everything so literally, but 80 to 90%, you'll start to hear that there's a trend on your leadership style that you need to course correct. So for me, it's definitely being able to take feedback. I remember our CPO at Red Robin, she said to me one time, why do you keep asking me for feedback all the time? And I said, well, you're the only one that gives it to me directly, as raw as it possibly can be. And I took it, and then I'd come back 30 days later and put it on my calendar and say, follow back up with Kathy. I need to make sure that I follow up on that feedback and that I'm showing improvement and getting better. And I think if people slow down, they'll really go fast in their career, but they have to slow down and ask those questions.
I love that. I love meeting a leader who is they put in 100 hours and your job is to say, okay, you need to do less. That's such a easier leader to mentor, a young leader to mentor, but especially when they're constantly looking for feedback. And the people who look for feedback the most, I feel needed the least, but they will still ask, and that's how you get there, I think.
Those are the ones that end up moving up the ladder, though. And I watched you do it with someone on your team, and I think it's just so important. And you give it, and they love it, and they crave it. And so I think leaders are really busy right now, but if you pause and you actually do that, your company is going to be so much better and grow so much faster if that all happens at the same time. It's all in parallel of doing the work, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, so last September, Lunchbox launched our Food Tech Council of 15 industry leaders. And we asked you to actually lead that group and, captain that ship of that, all those really busy, really talented people.
You put together a team of rock stars. I was intimidated.
No, you put together a team of rock stars. I called awesome. I hoodwinked you, and then you somehow convinced all of these folks to join. My first question would be, why did you raise your hand and say, I'll lead this council? I would love to just, hear. You and I have never actually fully talked about it.
Why not? Like, what a great opportunity, right? I mean, you're getting time and space and you get to listen to their inputs, and it's invaluable. And what I also love is you kind of have utilized everyone for different things along your leadership journey and for the betterment of Lunchbox. So how you reach out to certain ones, you've kind of marked them with what they bring to the table for you and for Lunchbox. And I love that you actually have looked at their talent specifically. And then as a larger group, when we all hop on the phone, I mean, I guarantee there's so many people listening to this that would love to join one of those calls or even pay to be on one. When Karen and Robin are asking, really great questions to better the company, and some of them are tough questions, or, Mo or Christopher. I mean, there's such cheerleaders of Lunchbox and what you guys are doing and building. And I love how they really, like, for everybody on the call, we went through the deck last time on core values and mission and vision statement. And it's such a wow, and it ties into a lot of what their restaurants are. And so you just kind of start to see these really good fits in the business and good collaboration. And so it goes back a minute ago to what we were talking about with feedback. All these folks are giving you feedback to make Lunchbox better. And I've had so many people say, oh my gosh, Lunchbox is so much better. And I love working with Nabil and all of these things. And somebody said to me the other day, the work you're doing with them is, we can tell. And I'm thinking, no, that's Nabil. But I'll make sure we give that feedback. So there's some feedback for you, Nabil. Good job.
That's great feedback, especially live on this recording and not like terrible at all, which is what you do often. No, I'm kidding. I hear feedback all day long. I'm sure you as a leader hear feedback all day long. It's which one do you implement and when, right? Like, it's which 20% is like must be implemented now. Like, that is what is hard to understand as a young leader myself. And, hearing from you, Jeff, and others and on our council has been amazing, because you guys are operators and you guys have done this time and again. I even called Fred last week. I called Fred last week because there's a seasoned executive on our team. I needed coaching. I don't want to give them this performance review and upset them. And he's like, this is easy. Do this, this, and this. And it was just a quick call. So the council has been just incredible for Lunchbox, and even myself as a leader learning from you guys.
I mean, from you to have this opportunity for us to work with each other. It was the first time I think a lot of us were in the same circle. And what has happened is it's opened doors for us to have, I've had great conversations with folks like Fred and the team. So thank you for that gift. It's awesome.
No, thank you. Thank you for being our captain, captain. Top 30 women in food list is coming out soon. You crushed it. You made it on that list. Were you on our first year's list or second year's? I don't remember.
I don't know which year, but yes, thank you. And I'm excited. You've got all these amazing women that have been nominated on there. I don't know how y'all are going to choose, because it's a tough list, but just great talent from like
Listen,
Gretchen.
I'm not involved. I'm not involved.
Well, I know people are like, Amy, are you involved? And I'm like, no, don't put that on me.
We have an all-woman marketing team who started this like our first year as inception, and it's become the most important thing we do. And I didn't get it our first year. I got it like, oh, cool, great, and moved on. But it has become so important. That's how I got to meet you, actually, because you were one of our winners and you spoke to our company. By the way, you're never allowed to speak to our company again, because that day when you spoke to our company, half of them wanted to quit and start their own company. You inspired them way too much.
You are so ridiculous.
We need you to inspire people less, okay? I lost so many women employees that day.
You did
all
not.
Super inspired. 15 companies started that evening. So you're never allowed to speak.
Wouldn't that be great if that actually happened? That's like a Dolly Parton thing.
It would be.
That's what she does for people. But I mean, your team's awesome. I think I've spoken to them a few times, but you surround yourself with really smart people. But I think the women in tech, or the women in food, I know it's changed, is an important piece. I was reading an article this morning that was a little crushing for me, that said that male CEOs last in their seats, I think it was like 10x longer than a female CEO. And there's a lot of reasons on there, and we don't need to get into it, but we went backwards during COVID, and you see the McKinsey study and our numbers went backwards, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me, it's frustrating for others. I had someone say to me literally last week, I don't want to put a woman in that seat because I get scared of the sexual harassment claims. And that just broke my heart. And it's this thing. And, I'm not saying that happens everywhere and that's why women don't get promoted, because there are a lot of women that have gotten promoted. I mean, look at Maria Small Slider. Like, there's so many amazing women getting promoted. But I do still think that there's a big gap there. So I think nominating and having these, it just shows who these leaders are, and that there's a lot of badass women out there kicking ass and making it happen. And, they're doing it all. all. And all the nominees are super impressive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for, all the work you do with, like, even I've seen you with the women of our company. You get to know them. You ask them questions. How are they doing? Career growth, who are their roommates at home, like, details, intimate details about members of our team, and you spend time with them. You get to know them, and there's no shortcut to being a great connector and being a great leader, and you show that and display that every single day.
We're in the people business, Nabs. It's what we do. Can I call you Nabs? Does anybody call you Nabs?
No one on my payroll is allowed to call me anything outside of Emperor Nabil,
okay.
But you can do
whatever
you want.
I'll do it Emp Nabil. Emp Nabs. That's your new nickname. Slack later.
Nabs was my nickname at Bear Burger when I was a busboy and 17. They used to call me Nabs, so brought back a lot of good memories.
Well, we'll have to bring it back. I mean, if it's all good memories, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. This next question, the math doesn't add up, okay?
Jeez.
Your daughter graduated college?
She graduated early last year, yeah. In HR.
First question is, if you're 25, how is that possible? I don't understand the math. So that's first question. The second question is, what is one piece of advice you would leave her or anyone just getting their foot in the door in 2024 with? Like, they're just getting into the workforce in 2024. One advice for her or anyone else out there. But first question is, how's the math?
Well, we'll skip the math question. For advice for any of the young women or young men that are emerging leaders right now, I think right now in this space is to focus on your own development and don't put it on anybody else. Own your seat, own your progression. I've heard so many times, well, my leader's not developing me. Well, what are you doing to develop yourself? There's so many things. There's podcasts, there's TED Talks, there's books, there's, I have some of your folks on your team, we're doing, what is that app called? We're doing a Headway. And they have to read some things and we kind of chat through. Now that we have the internet and there's free flowing information, you can read articles every day just to learn, Wall Street Journal, or join up for stocks and, learn about those. But you can't sit there and put the fact that you weren't promoted on a leader. And so to me, it's own your development, which is part of the reason why we have Lead, because a lot of these mom and pops can't afford to put a development plan together or spend the time with everything going on. The people on our council, on Lead Council, we are so passionate about making this industry sexier. We lost a little sexiness during COVID and we want to bring the sexy back. That's what we tell people in a fun way. But for me, it's own your development. You own yours. You do stuff all the time for yourself. Give me 3 things you do to be able to develop yourself. Because when I saw your schedule one day, I almost fell off the chair. Number
1, I have a CEO coach. I meet twice a month. And sometimes I'll have leaders from our team come in who I'm having conflict with, so they can broker between the two. And when you broker between two, instead of it's me versus them, it's like, all right, we have an independent person who's coaching both of us. So that's 1. Number 2, I go on a lot of walks. I try to get 10,000 steps every day. I love to just go shut up and listen to myself think once in a while, and,
that's important.
And self-soothe. Yeah, self-soothe and not cover it all with music and TV all day long or Zooms all day long. And number 3, I call you sometimes, or I call Jeff, or I call Fred, or I call these amazing people, and I realize that everything I'm going through, you guys have gone through, and it's all going to be okay. Just consult with these people and let them help you and guide you. You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. But you're making the space for that, and a lot of folks don't, and they think they got it. And my gosh, think of where you were when you first started as a CEO to where you are now. I mean, even just from first meeting you to where you are now, you've just grown so much. So I know this isn't about you, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew I'm not cutting you off. How much the Emperor Nabs, but how much you give back to all of us. So we just appreciate it.
You're too sweet. Thank you. Thank you for reading it exactly as I asked you to read it.
Yes, I'm reading the teleprompter right now.
All right, last question.
Yes.
Why should we all put Dolly Parton as our most inspirational celebrity out there?
We don't have enough time, but Dolly, if you've ever had a chance to read her business books, like My Life, Another Unfinished Business, one of her first ones, how she terminates people, how she holds people accountable, how she makes the world a better place. She doesn't get into politics, and she makes sure that she cheerleads everyone around her. And she is, I'll go into this really fast. I grew up listening to her through some of my craziest times in my life. And I listened to the cassette tape, and she pulled some stuff out of me when I was very young that anyone that knows me that I grew up with knows that she kind of saved my life a little bit. And if I ever get to meet her, I worked for Wolfgang, I've done the Oscars, all these things, but she'd be the one I would probably lose my marbles on because she just makes the world a better place. If we had $1 million running around, can you imagine how better the world would be? I mean, she's just all about peace and helping find a cure for COVID, like all of these things. And she does it without anyone knowing. She doesn't brag about it, and but she makes the world a better place. And so I think if we all kind of aspire to be a Dolly Parton in our lives, we'd be good peeps.
Amy, thank you so much for spending some time. I can't believe we did this. I feel like we've done this. There's no way this is our first time doing this. I was like, why are we doing Amy? Did we do Amy already? Did we have a podcast? They're like, nope. I was like, blasphemy. Thank you so much for your incredible leadership, incredible energy. You really are one of the best people in the world. I cannot speak more highly of you.
As are you, friend.
You're the best. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To fly with me. Tube socks, boy, about to pop the lunchbox. Tube socks, boy.